Hi, I'm Israel Peskowitz. I'm the Community Affairs Director of Chazak, and we are very proud to present Manny Behar here to talk to you about the decennial redistricting.
Thank you very much. Redistricting is the time when the politicians get to choose their voters rather than the voters choosing their politicians. What is redistricting? Basically, every 10 years, the Constitution requires a census to determine the population of each state and even of each small area. And all of the House of Representatives, the state legislatures, everywhere, they have districts, and these districts have to be roughly equal in size. Now, over the course of 10 years, populations change. People move in and people move out. And districts that were roughly the same size 10 years ago may not be the same size today. So the borders have to be adjusted to accommodate the current population and make districts that are equal in size. Now, when this redistricting happens, the lines can be drawn to favor certain people or to hurt certain people. That, let's say you have someone who in his last election he didn't do too well in a particular area in his district. Well, he might want to get that area taken out of his district. He might want to replace it with someplace where he thinks he can, or she thinks that she can run better. So the way that it works, the districts have to be contiguous and compact. Compact means that it's close together. Contiguous means that they're attached to each other. So you could have a district that's contiguous, running, let's say, from the northern part of Queens all along the north shore of Long Island, all the way out to Montauk Point. That is contiguous, but it's not compact. It's a long district. The one is very far from the other, and they would have very different interests. That in Suffolk County, they may have farmland, while Queens is the heart of New York City. You could have a district that's compact, but that's not contiguous. You could have two areas that are close to each other, that are similar, and it's small, but that there's a dividing line between them. So the districts are supposed to be contiguous and compact. Now, two other terms that you should know about are cracking and packing. Packing is when they try to put a lot of people who think the same way, or of one ethnic group, or one political party, one religious background, they try to put them all in one area. Cracking is when you divide people up into several different districts. Now, this can work in a number of ways, and we'll get back to that in a little bit. But very often the parties try to use the redistricting process to their advantage. Now, for example, you may have an area that would have three districts within it. And overall, that area may be evenly divided between the two parties. But if you have one party in control of the redistricting process, as is often the case, so they could draw the lines, they could do compacting, that they would try to get as many of the people in the other party as they can into one district, packing. So they would create a district, maybe 90% of the people in that district are from the other party, and it's guaranteed that the other party is going to win that district. But what they've also done in the process is created two other districts that are about 65% for their party, that they're pretty much assured of winning those two districts. So even though the population is equal, the party in control of the redistricting process probably will win two out of those three seats just because of the way that they've drawn their district lines. Now, to show how this could work in our neighborhoods, let's say we have the neighborhoods with a large Jewish population like Kew Gardens Hills or like Forest Hills. Well, if you'd put all of Kew Gardens Hills and all of Forest Hills and go up into Fresh Meadows and Hillcrest Jamaica Estates, you would have a district with a very large Jewish population, and that would have significant influence. If you would divide, let's say, a district, you would make Main Street the border of a district. You would divide up the Kew Gardens Hills neighborhood. You'd dilute the influence of the Kew Gardens Hills neighborhood because they would be in two different districts. Similarly, if you draw a district line along Queens Boulevard, that you would divide up the Forest Hills community. Now, sometimes it can be in our interest to be divided up, that we wouldn't have as much impact in any one district as we would have if we're all together, but we'd have an impact in more districts. So sometimes good to be all together. Sometimes it may actually be better if they divide our areas up. And this is something that we have to keep an eye on. Now, it also matters how they divide it up. This is a map of the Queens Community Boards. And basically the Jewish population, other than Far Rockaway, is in Board 6, 8, and part of 9. Forest Hills, Kew Garden Hills, Hillcrest Jamaica Estates, and Kew Gardens. Well, we're adjacent to Western Queens. We're adjacent to South Queens. We're adjacent to North Queens, to Flushing, Bayside. So which district we would get attached to could make a huge difference as to who would represent us and how much impact that we can have. So it's redistricting can determine who represents us, maybe even more than the election, because the redistricting can determine who gets elected, or certainly which party, or people from which neighborhood. So whatever it is that you care about, whether it's about Israel, whether it's the safety and security of our neighborhoods, whether it's about infrastructure, roads and bridges and highways and so on, or it's about government benefits or taxes, whatever it is that you care about, those decisions are made by elected officials, and the redistricting can help determine who your elected officials are. So whatever it is you care about, you need to care about redistricting. And you need to keep an eye. There will be public hearings. There will be opportunities. And New York has an independent commission that is supposed to take the process out of politics. The reality is that the members of that independent commission, most of them are appointed by the leaders of the state legislature, and the people that they appointed appoint the other members. And any plan that the independent commission comes up with has to be approved by the state legislature. So there is going to be politics in the process, and we need to monitor it. We need to keep an eye on these public hearings. We need to let our elected officials know how we feel about it, because the redistricting process could determine who represents us for the next 10 years.